I am struck by the epistemological dichotomy between the cable networks, right, MSNBC, CNN, who devote a large part of their programming with good reason, and it's a public service, and it's justifiable, and it's an imperative, to Russian meddling in the 2016 elections at all levels, right, from president down to Senate, House, and other such races. But none of that, or very little of it, I have to say, I haven't really heard any of these commentators say, we've been talking about Russian meddling. What went on last night in Georgia, or what's going to go on in Georgia, or South Carolina, for that matter? And of course, these are elections of limited dimensions. You don't have to move 5 million or 10 million votes here. You just have to move 10,000, 20,000. That makes all the difference, right? I think the margin for Karen Handel was 12 or 13,000 votes. So you can see how easily this could be impacted. I just have to point out how Orwellian and strange it is that a very obvious connection is not made. In other words, you'd say, we've been talking about this now for months. Here comes an election. Let's take a look and see, are the Russians still here? What will they do this time? Are we looking into the future? You don't really hear that. It's all looking backward. All right, so that's one thing. Then we have some very interesting comments here from one of the top Republican honchos. Now, this is written up. The best place to find this is the Washington Post 202, the Daily 202 blog. And the basic idea here is that the last phase of the Karen Handel campaign, in a way that I do not see reflected adequately in the cable, the MSNBC, CNN, or anybody along those lines, the last phase of this campaign was dominated by, I would say, two things. One is the question of the shooting of Congressman Scalise at the baseball practice field there in Alexandria, Virginia. That's one. And the second event, which was of such central importance, has been this envelope containing powder that Karen Handel received, and which became a cause célèbre, right? It became a huge scandal in this election district. So on the day before the election, or 36 hours before the election, Karen Handel gets this envelope, and it's got powder in it. Turns out to be baking soda, okay? But this then becomes a complete brouhaha. The local press goes nuts. Karen Handel comes out and says, oh, I'm not concerned about myself, but my poor neighbor, this nice lady who just moved in, she got one of these letters delivered to her by mistake or something, and she had to open this up, so she's very upset, and I really feel bad about her, right? In other words, this was practically a soap opera script in action. And then we have a guy by the name of Don Carver. He's widely quoted. And Don Carver is the Republican congressional district leader, not in the 6th congressional district here, where the election occurred. No, but in a nearby one. I think it's the 11th or something for this guy. And he says, you know what? The Scalise shooting is going to win us this election. It's going to win us this election. So the Republicans beat the drum, right? They waved the bloody shirt of the shooting at Scalise, and they have these super PACs that then come in, and they go wild with attack ads. And one of them is called The Violent Left. And you can see these, right? Go and look. Put up by a number of super PACs. What's with the violent left? Well, they show you violent scenes. They show you stuff about the shooting, right? The bang, bang, bang at the ball field there in Alexandria. and they say this is the unhinged left, and they're not going to stop. They're going to continue unless you stop them. And the idea is you got to stop them by voting to defeat Ossoff, because the people that support the shooting in Alexandria and the violence and unhinged behavior of the left, those guys are the same ones that are backing Ossoff.
Yeah, that was all just so sick. That comparison, that was just so weak.
Yes, and they have Pelosi. They have a picture of Pelosi. So in other words, this sanctimonious hypocrite Ryan gets up there in front of the House and says, "Oh, we have to come together. We have to." He actually said this thing: "An attack on one of us is an attack on all of us." Well, Paul, it would have been great to hear that from your man Don there in Brussels at the NATO headquarters, right? It would have been great to hear somebody say an attack on one is an attack on all. That would have gone far. You didn't do that. You brought it up. But then this sanctimonious hypocrite, right? I'm thinking of somebody like Mr. Pecksniff from Martin Chuzzlewit by Charles Dickens. He turns around and his super PAC is, I don't know if they're directly behind this particular ad about the violent left and how Ossoff is somehow in cahoots with the violent left, because you don't know, right? Thanks to Citizens United, thanks to that other guy, Bossy, and his ilk, we have the Citizens United. So we don't know who's paying for these things. But certainly there's a general idea that the Paul Ryan Super PAC did wonders for Karen Handel. Some of these election commentators say, oh, look, Ossoff outspent Karen Handel 7-1. And they're talking about hard money, right? Hard money in the campaign. So $21 million for Ossoff spent, Karen Handel, hard money, $3 million. That just means that Ossoff actually got a lot of smaller contributions, in particular from out of state, sure. Some of it from San Francisco and New York, sure. But what did Handel get? She didn't get any of that. She didn't get small contributions. She got super PACs coming in with negativity. In other words, the super PACs are not generally allowed to say, vote for Handel. But what they can say is that Ossoff is a blankety blank, 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 right? Which is what they did. He's part of the violent left, right? You want to defeat the violent left, you got to get rid of him. So the real money was approximately roughly equal as far as I can see. It's just that he had it positive for him and she had it negative through these PACs. So you put these things together, right? The powdery letters that she got with baking soda, which allowed her to pose as a victim of this left-wing conspiracy, and then of course the stuff with the Scalise. In this TV ad, they also showed the unfortunate Kathy Griffin posing with the severed head of some character, supposedly looking like Trump. So a lot of posturing, a lot of victimhood on display. So this is the sort of stuff that was that I think was very important, and we have it.